I took a risk. I decided to convert a dress that I already owned that had been hanging in my closet, and instead of allowing that beautiful fabric to continue to take up space, I just got to cutting and turned it into a completely new garment, aka a bomber jacket. I shared a sneak peek of this jacket in my last video, and today I'm going to talk you through the final reveal as well as all things McCall's 7637 bomber jacket pattern. Hi my fellow sewists and creatives, welcome to the Jacket Channel. No, I'm just joking. Welcome to Dine and Creativity. I feel like it's the Jacket Channel because I have been talking about the jackets that I've sewn up these past month or so, and mainly because this is, as I've shared before, my first real winter sewing extravaganza. So I am going full in terms of working with winter patterns, winter gear, and I'm going to share with you all the highs, lows, and everything in between as it pertains to my sewing journey, but also in working with this McCall's 7637, I believe it's unisex bomber jacket pattern. Now, I don't want to carry any false pretenses here. This is an excellent pattern to work with, especially if you're newer into sewing up winter patterns just like I am. This particular pattern is a range of different sizes. There are so many different fun modifications that you can do with it. There are there are 4 different views that you can make. You can add, as you see here, you can do the hood with it. You can do it without the hood. You can add a very cute little collar as featured in view B, or you can stick with the very traditional view A of what I consider to be just the standard bomber jacket, which is what I ended up sewing up. So here was the final piece in all of its fabric shopping in my closet glory. If you watched my most recent video, October Makes, then you already know that this is a closet remake. It was actually material taken from a dress that I already owned. I'm going to show you that dress in just a second, but I really wanted to just give you the full scope of what this bomber jacket looks like inside and out. I chose not to line it. I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but yeah, just wanted to go ahead and model it for you so that you can make your own decision on whether or not you would want to sew up what I think is truly such a cute little bomber jacket. If you can recall, this was actually previously a Calvin Klein dress that had been hanging in my closet for, I would say, 2 years, maybe 3 years. I got it on sale at Dillard's. I loved the fabric. I thought for sure this is going to be a perfect winter dress to wear to work at some point. But then, like many of you watching, I pretty much converted to work from home life full time, and there is no way I'm wearing this dress to work from home. It just ain't gonna happen. And so I really got to the point the other day where I was going through my closet, seeing all of these beautiful items that truly I love, but I'm not gonna reach for that dress. The thought of putting on that skin tight Calvin Klein dress just wasn't it. So instead I thought, let me recycle and use this fabric that I adored. It almost reminds me of kind of a micro suede type feel, but I took full advantage of the stretch of it and went through some trials and tribulations when sewing up this 7637 pattern, not because of the pattern itself, but because of working with fabric that had previously been sewn into a dress. And so I'll start with probably one of the wonkiest things that I ran into initially, and that was with the sleeves. So if you see the dress right here, I tried to really work with the fabric because it had already been serged. Not on my own serger itself, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna work with this and try to really make it look as professional as possible. So I used the front bodice to make the sleeves, and I really had not pressed the fabric enough prior to making them into sleeves. And so I had these weird, you could see the cups from the bust kind of billowing out. And I only share that because if you decide to remake garments from the fabric that you already have hanging in your closet, aka pieces that you've worn or not ever worn before, but that have been hanging up in your closet that you love that fabric, it's just something to consider. I mean, to me, it was such a duh moment. You know, how could I lose sight of that? But I sewed on both of the sleeves. I noticed that they were fitting, but they had the strange ripple effect going down here from the bust. So I went ahead and pressed this fabric to heck and back, basically because I had to flatten it out and then actually go back and recut the sleeves, re-sew them on after I had ripped out all those stitches to really make it lay the way it was meant to lay. The other little trick I'll share, and this was super helpful because if you have already done this before and remade clothing items from dresses or other jackets or even pants before, then you may already know this, but sometimes you just don't have enough fabric. So I actually had to use some scraps to make this little cuff around the sleeve and then add the actual cuff on to the jacket itself. So really just sewed this, I think it was like a 3-inch panel. And then once I put, and I'm sorry, this camera's not focusing on there. There we go. Once I put this outer cuff on, I think it looks perfect. I mean, I really do love the way it turned out. I'll try to put a video over here so you can see me modeling it up close. But I did the same thing on both sides, as you can see. And I'm thrilled. I'm so happy with how the final product turned out. Now, let's get into top stitching. Let's also get into sewing a jacket separating zipper into a garment. I found a great video from Professor Pincushion. She's kind of my go-to when it comes to learning new skills. And she broke down in such a great stepwise progression how to sew a separating jacket zipper into the jacket. And so I used her method, and I'll try to find that video and link it below. But if I can't find it, then definitely just Google Professor Pincushion sewing in a jacket zipper and it should come up. I thought it was super straightforward, very easy method for sewing this zipper in, but with it came some challenges in terms of the top stitching that I needed to do to make sure that I sewed it in so that it wouldn't be flapping underneath. Being a true perfectionist, let me show you the first iteration of this jacket. So I'm gonna put up this long video and go ahead and just out myself because this is the part of sewing that I love, and I also, it drives me nuts sometimes, and that is learning these new little tidbits that can up-level your garments. In this instance, thread tension is everything. So I had to go and initially I top stitched it, my thread tension way too tight. As you can see, the lines are not straight. I was so tired, honestly, of dealing with this jacket. I mean, at that point, I had already had to rip the sleeves off. Now I'm looking at these crooked top stitches, but I thought, you know what? I really want this to be a piece I'm proud of, that I don't have any hesitation wearing out. And I know this may just be me, but when it comes to sewing, again, I've said this before, I like it to look store-bought. I like it to be very precise. So I ended up ripping out every single seam that I had top stitched. This was the other piece I ran into. I didn't know how to finish the inside of the jacket because I didn't want to line this particular piece. So actually, I'm gonna go change and I'll show you the inside of this jacket and how I finished it. Okay, I'm back. So what I ended up doing is honestly, It's a little hokey, but I'm still learning. And for where I am in my sewing experience, and this now being the second jacket I've really ever sewn up, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm sure a year from now, 5 years from now, I'll look back at this piece and think, if I only knew then what I know now. But for now, I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the journey. I use bias tape. So basically when I sewed this separating jacket zipper in, I had an unfinished piece of fabric just kind of flapping in the wind here. I did not want to line this particular piece. It didn't need it. I love the fabric. The inside feels so soft. It just feels really good. So I thought, how am I going to finish this? I thought about using the matching rib knit, which I did link this in my Amazon store. It is probably the most gorgeous rib knit I have ordered on Amazon to date. They have it in white, black, gray, and this gorgeous color called wheat, which I am just so crazy about. So I used the bias tape. With that, I needed to top stitch it, or, well, it ended up being a top stitch on this side, but I needed to stitch down both sides, which then created the top stitch on the front. Is it perfect? No. Is it a heck of a lot better than the first iteration? Absolutely. So I just sat down one night after sewing those crooked initial seams, sat down, I think I watched Golden Bachelorette, and ripped out all of that work on both sides and redid it. And to be honest, I am so happy that I did. So I'm sharing to normalize. Sometimes you gotta just rip it out, redo to get that desired final outcome. And again, broken record, I'm so glad I did. I did do French seams wherever possible because I wanted, when this jacket is open, I wanted it to be just as beautiful on the inside as it is, in my opinion, on the outside. So I even did French seams around the edges, of course around the neck, on just any seam that I possibly could. Did I do it? Let me see. Oh, you know what? The only place I decided not to was the armhole. Now this is kind of a knit fabric. In fact, I even left the tags in just to keep it that almost store-bought type feel. This is actually 90% polyester, 10% spandex, which was a shock to me because I thought for certain that it would be micro suede because that's really what it looks like to me. But this was it. And overall, that pattern, I thought it was a fun little thing to talk about, fabric shopping in my closet and just converting the Calvin Klein dress to the Dine-In Creativity jacket with Calvin Klein dress material. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of shed some light on that process and just some considerations if you decide to remake one of your garments that's already in your closet. But this is a great pattern to work with. I cannot get over it. Let me see what it's rated. I do not see a rating on here, but I would say it is probably best suited for an advanced beginner. And that's only because if you've never worked with inserting or attaching collars before, it can be a little tricky. If you don't have a lot of practice in inserting jacket zippers, that can be a little bit tricky. But other than that, sewing up the actual pieces of this jacket is not hard at all. I opted to leave out the pockets on the side. Frankly, I didn't think I had enough fabric or lining fabric to do that. I didn't line it. And to be honest, I just didn't want the hassle. So I omitted those steps. Maybe in the next iteration of this bomber jacket, because I am sure to sew this baby up again, I want to do one with the collar. I may try to add that, but for now, I'm leaving it as is to have a sleek little easy breezy jacket to throw on over a cute top or just over a bodysuit like I'm wearing this today. These bodysuits are also linked below. Broken record with that, but they are in my Amazon storefront. When it comes to clothing items I'm loving right now, I like them to be just easy, nothing fussy, nothing complicated, and this jacket absolutely fits the bill. So highly recommend the pattern. Give it a go. If you have worked with this before, please let me know how it goes. I would love to hear about it. And if you have been fabric shopping in your own closet, let me know what projects you may be creating, because I think it's so much fun and I love hearing about the pieces that you're making. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope that October has treated you well as we move into November. I hope you are finding your calm and your center and engaging in lots and lots of creativity. As always, happy creating, and be well.